This is the Chamberlink, connecting community, creating impact with Tyler Fischbach.
Good morning and welcome to the Chamberlink. We are here today for episode number 11, and I'm excited for today's episode because we get to, what I would say, nerd out a little bit. We're going to be talking about technology, artificial intelligence, security, innovations, and really how all of that impacts not only businesses, but also just us as humans. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And how this came to be, this convo was kind of spurred by the Chamber's upcoming Midwest Summit, and that's happening on August 14th. But at that summit, this is our Midwest Technology Summit, so we're going to be diving into, well, really a major focus on artificial intelligence at that event and how it's transforming talent pipelines, accelerating decision-making for business owners and operators. The introduction of new cybersecurity threats probably is going to be a big topic. And of course, the economic impacts of all of this, the energy impacts, that's going to be a part of the discussion, policy and regulatory impacts and what's coming. And it's going to be a very interesting morning. We're going to have panels. We're going to have presenters, kind of the TED-style talks. And so I'm really looking forward to that. And, you know, last year at our Midwest Tech Summit, a part of me also walked away a little bit, I don't want to say scared, but kind of wowed at some of the tech and how it's transforming that I just don't know about. It's shocking, and people have to start to pay attention to this a lot. And so today we're gonna maybe tease some of those conversations too. And before, I was reading last night. So before we jump in, I actually just thought of this, so I want to share it with you too. I was reading an interview. It was with Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, who a lot of people probably know their product or their model, ChatGPT. And he was sitting down with the president of MIT. And one of the sentences he said, I have it written down here. He said, AI will continue to get way more capable, of course, and will become ubiquitous as time goes on. People are using it to create amazing things. And if we could see what each of us can do in 10 or 20 years, it will astonish us completely. And throughout that discussion, he did address what some people would call like the doomsday aspect of artificial intelligence. And I don't want to overstate anything, but Altman did say that his doomsday take on AI is greater than 0%, which was kind of unnerving. It's like, okay, so this leader in tech is not fully convinced that it's not going to completely obliterate the human race. But anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. But of course, Altman also talked about business opportunities, regulations, how it's going to change the workforce and so on. So I think it also kind of frames the discussion the three of us are going to have today. And what I'll do now is introduce our two guests. I'm very excited for this. We have Joe Sandin with us today. He's the president and founder of OnSharp. And then we have Kelly Mortensen, who's the founder of Digital Planes. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. And I think what I want to do, because Kelly, I wasn't super familiar with what you did until maybe a couple of weeks ago. So I think this could be a good opportunity for, well, both of you to explain what your business is, what you guys do in your area of expertise, and just kind of set that foundation. So Kelly, let's kick it off with you. What do you got going on over there?
Thanks for having me. And we started Digital Planes about 6.5 years ago, and we specialize in cybersecurity for small, medium-sized businesses. Any smaller business that maybe doesn't have the budget for IT staff, we supplement that and take control of their IT systems for them and act as their internal IT department.
Okay, very cool. And when I was on your site last week, I had noticed that you co-authored a book, and it was a very straightforward title. It said, "Your Business Will Get Hacked,"
right.
which I thought was, I kind of like that. It's a strong statement. But what are some things, just real quick, maybe that businesses, what do you guys mean by that title? What are some things that businesses need to be paying attention to?
Well, a lot of small businesses especially are DIYing a lot of things. They're wearing multiple hats in small businesses. So just doing the bare minimum to keep the hackers off of your network. I don't know any specific stats, but I've noticed in the past, you throw a new firewall into an environment, and within seconds there's IP addresses trying to access that firewall. So the way cybersecurity is rolling now, it's still very important to have a firewall, but it's getting to be less important because there's other tools on each individual device to protect the device and not just a brick and mortar building, especially in today's mobile workforce.
Well, that's kind of shocking within seconds.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, and we're going to dive into a lot more of that stuff. But Joe, I know we were talking outside in the lobby. It's good to see you again. It's been a while. But
Yeah.
can you tell the people, what do you guys do at OnSharp?
So at OnSharp, we've been in business for 25 years, actually, this July. So it's our anniversary this year. We are custom website app and software developers. So about 25 years ago when I was a college kid coming out of St. Thomas, there was a little bit of a tech slowdown and there weren't a lot of jobs. And I just decided, I had started OnSharp while I was in school as a sophomore. And so coming out, instead of looking for a job, I just said, well, why don't I just give it a shot? And, what's the worst that can happen? I don't have a wife yet or kids or a house payment, or I can live on practically nothing. So I just kept proceeding, and I was a computer science major. And so I was just my first employee and built websites and apps and learned how to code, and really was how I just kind of got thrusted into entrepreneurship naturally and just kind of learned how to sit in every seat in the business. So as we've grown over these 25 years, I've had the opportunity to morph around in the business and sit in seats and turn them over to other people and build a team that's much better than I can be on my own. So, but yeah, we help businesses just generally our passion is to help businesses become more successful through leveraging custom development to build systems. And a lot of what we do is portal development. So whether it's a customer portal or a dealer portal or a partner portal or something like that, we're normally building systems that connect people together and allow businesses to be more efficient, provide a better customer experience, and then ultimately drive growth.
Well, and speaking of I'm glad you shared your journey. That's a pretty cool story. And now, now you have a large business. Through my eyes, what you have going on over there is awesome to see. And I was on your website as well, and I noticed you had, what was it, the Inc. 5000 fastest growing employers or businesses. What is that exactly? What is that?
So it's a list of the 5,000 fastest growing privately held U.S. companies in the country. So we fortunately have been on that list for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
But as you get larger, it gets tougher to grow at a faster clip. So whether we'll continue to be on that list, I guess we'll see. But we've just been really fortunate to find good people. And, ultimately we just focus on the customer and doing a good job and always pushing to make ourselves better. And we're always open to feedback. So that, I think as a business, if you really just focus on your customer and what makes them happy, I think you'll just naturally grow through that.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. All right, we're at our first break, and when we come back, we're going to get into some of the nuts and bolts of a lot of this discussion. So stay tuned in. We'll be right back. Thank you. Welcome back to the show, and I think, Kelly, maybe I'll start with you for this question. I'm curious, maybe over the past 5, maybe not even that long, maybe 4 years, how has artificial intelligence not only maybe changed how you guys operate as a business, but how have you seen it change just the business landscape and how others operate their business? I'm curious what that looks like through your lens.
Sure. Yeah, we all are aware that, or maybe we're not, that AI's been there for a long time. We talk about paddle boards in a discussion, all of a sudden you get ads about paddle boards, right? So those things have been around for a long time. Was given to the public in November 2022, so just about 3 years ago was when it was in the public's hands to use. And right now, I think a lot of people are using it as kind of a super Google, because you can Google something and get a list of web pages to go read through, or you can throw in a ChatGPT or something like that and get a definitive answer, which is subjective too, because it's not always accurate. So I think what businesses need to do is take kind of the leadership in businesses need to start using it more of a strategic way, because their employees are already using AI every day, whether they know it or not. Whether it's just emails or memos that they're creating is one thing, but to really get an advantage of it, and I think a lot of businesses, if they do adopt that, will have a competitive edge against their competitors by using it as a strategic partner in their business.
Yeah, that's really interesting too, because I even know, how many tools are out there, right? That's the thing too. And so you might have employees using these 5
every
things,
week,
right? And so you're saying employers almost just need to take an inventory of what's out there and just at least get people on the same page. And how do we integrate this into our strategic plan instead of just kind of ad hoc using things?
It really needs to have that leader in the business to direct that and put governance around it, so that your employees are not putting P&L statements with data on it into the large language models. That's what every individual GTP, if you will, has its own large language model. Eventually, they'll probably get connected at some point. But if you're putting sensitive data like that out there, that's where the opportunity for hackers comes into play.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, can you kind of dive into the dangers of that? So let's say you put in that info, what happens to it? Where does it go? Whose data is it now? I mean, I have no idea. Is that kind of like, does it become public?
General knowledge at that point in that specific large language model.
Yeah.
So even Copilot, which is Microsoft's answer for that, you can segregate that down and restrict access to it and use it as a business. But even in the last week, they suffered a major hack to Copilot where hackers were able to get into it and get administrative rights. So those things are going to happen. It's happened with all the other tech over the years. I mean, years ago, Microsoft used to put their new latest server operating system out for people to try and hack, and I think it was probably within minutes some hacker broke it. So they use those opportunities to make things more secure, and they'll learn from it. But in the meantime, it's wide open for attack.
Okay. Well, and I don't want to lose this thread of conversation, but Joe, I'm curious from your perspective because you work with many clients.
Sure.
How do you see how things have changed, or how people, kind of how Kelly mentioned, people might be just kind of on fire trying to use things? And do you see the good in it, the bad in it, how it's evolving businesses? I'm curious your take on the whole matter.
Yeah, in what we do, I mean, we're in the software development world, so a lot of what we're looking at is how to use AI to be more powerful as developers. The IDEs and the tool sets that we use. How can we build more value faster for a business at a better price point? Obviously, from a security perspective, there's obviously security implications on the software side too. But I think every business has to kind of every business has its own risk profile, and you have to look at security versus convenience, and you got to figure out kind of where you sit. I mean, even before AI, I mean, your data is out there in these. I mean, when the cloud was the big term, now it's AI, but when it was everything was the cloud, right? I mean, you're putting your data in the hands of other people, and you're trusting that they will safeguard your information. So, I mean, that's where you have to have good processes and procedures for making vendor selections and vetting those vendors, actually reading the terms and conditions before you just click accept and start using a new tool. I mean, I think that's the hard part about, you got to let your employees experiment, but you have to put certain process and procedures in place around how you want them to do so, and approvals and things like that. Otherwise, you've got your individual employees out there that are setting up accounts, checking boxes, and not really probably caring as much as you would from the high-level business perspective, like, okay, where are we putting our data?
So what I'm hearing from you two is that this cannot be ignored by business leaders or managers. So it's more so, okay, this exists. Now, how do we do this in the proper way? Because no matter the industry, right? I mean, there's an opportunity for employees to use it somehow to try to elevate their roles. And so really, people just need to figure out that this isn't going away. And so we need to figure out how to implement this properly. Now, I'm curious, what might be an example of, let's just call it a breach? Like, what might that look like? If I'm a small business, I have 6 employees, what's an example of something that could go wrong if I'm just kind of loosey-goosey with how we handle things?
In general, the employees are still the number one vulnerability in your business because every email address with your company domain name is attacked with phishing emails at all times. And no matter how many layers of security we put around our customers, those emails still slip in. The hackers never stop. They're always looking for ways to get around the barriers we put in place. So we have barriers coming in and going out for that case. So if they do get a phishing email and somebody clicks on it, there's even zero code malware software that doesn't even require to download the software to the computer. Just clicking a link in some cases can expose it to a hacker. And then from that point, they get a foothold on that device, whoever clicked on it, and then they'll sit on that device. IBM had a survey a few years ago that said on average 287 days before they're either caught or they announce that they're there and ask for a ransom. So they'll sit on that device and see what that particular person has access to, and then they'll make lateral movement to maybe somebody else in the department or a department head, and then from there they might get access to the core data of the business. And the minute they find that, they're going to start downloading it and putting it on the dark web, and they'll wait maybe they'll wait a little bit longer to see how much more data they can get to increase the ransom. And then most all these ransomware attacks now are gangs or kind of corporations in a way. They have, structures within them and bonus strategies to determine, how much can we get from a company. If your business is only worth $10 million, they're not going to ask for $100 million.
Sure.
They're going to say, what do you think we can ask them for and get away with, and just have them pay it and move on.
Wow, that's a little scary. Well, I'm curious, Joe, from your perspective, we've talked about, well, you mentioned, Kelly, that employees are a vulnerability, and we talked about how you need to start just implementing this across your entire team so everybody's on the same page, using it safely. What have you done as a leader to, empower your team perhaps, but do it in a safe way? I'm curious, because we'll have lots of business owners listening, and maybe you'll have a nugget of, well, maybe just start here, try this, because it could be daunting maybe for some folks, but.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of, I want everyone to be out there testing, trying, and experimenting with the tools. We're a technical team, so we're probably in a little bit better position to where our team understands how to do it the correct way, asking the right questions. So we've got approval processes in place, where if someone's going to use something, we want to make sure under what email address are we signing up for the account, who's reviewing it, making good decisions on that. But just generally from a security perspective, I think that the key thing to remember is it's that saying, you're only as secure as your weakest link. And you can do 99 things right, and then you do one thing wrong, and the whole thing's over. So that's why security is so difficult. And that's why it's important to have tools in place where you can be monitoring all of your endpoints, so that at some point when you are compromised, because every business likely will be compromised at some level at some point, do you have the tools in place that will instantly stop the compromise? Because it really then becomes a ticking clock in terms of, okay, how much time are you going to give them to be in there and actually do something with that? So it's shocking to me how many businesses don't have that in place. Yeah. Because they haven't been bit yet. So, so it's almost like insurance, like, oh, my house has never burned down before. So maybe I don't, whatever. So it's amazing too how many companies don't have cyber liability policies. And these ransoms keep getting more and more expensive to where, I don't know if the average ransom is probably over $1 million now. So it would put your business under. I mean, if you got hit and you had a ransom to pay and you didn't have cyber liability policy. So I think one thing businesses are overlooking, especially small companies, is the need to have proper insurance in place when something happens too.
Yeah, one stat we use a lot is that 60% of businesses that do have a ransomware attack go out of business within 6 months, because it's not just the ransom that they're paying. They're paying lawyers, they're paying teams to rebuild their systems. Maybe they're buying new software tools that they should have bought before. And that cost can really go up fast, and especially for businesses shut down for 4 to 6 weeks because of it. Now you're not bringing in revenue either.
That's devastating.
And then you're dealing with trust issues with your clients, because you're having to notify people of what happened, and you're going to have some loss on the client side too. Yeah,
well, we've seen that happen before over the years, and not to call anybody out, but it's common knowledge. I know Target went through that years ago. Well, even if a phishing email goes out or a fake one comes out from your company, to your point, in rebuilding that trust, even something so simple as that spam email, I mean, that's a big deal with loyalty and trust.
Well, email compromise is a big, scary one, because so many people in your organization have email, and it just takes one person to click on the wrong thing and then not tell IT about it because they're nervous. I think the culture of the organizations has to be one of which you encourage your employees to call things out if they look suspicious, or if they make a mistake, have a culture to where it's encouraged to admit that and bring it to IT, versus making people feeling like they're just going to get in trouble over it. So we use KnowBe4 for training as well. So we do quarterly training. Everyone has to do security training. And then I know KnowBe4 has it, but other tools as well can do like phishing simulations. So you're technically constantly phishing your employees too, so that they become understanding, they become a little more alert when they know they're going to be potentially phished too. So that's very helpful.
Yeah, we started doing that at the Chamber. Well, it's probably been a couple of years now. Our partners at Network Center are awesome to work with. And I guess it's kind of that, fake phishing arena. And so we get those all the time. They're all tests, but that has tuned everybody onto like, oh, this exists, because the Chamber it's a pretty public facing organization. So there's a lot of stuff that can come through. But that makes a huge difference. People are now reporting things and sending things to our IT team, and so it has made a huge difference with just our, what would you call it, the culture, I suppose, of the team, which is nice. All right, we're on our second break. Time is flying, so we're going to get to the news, and then we'll be right back and keep chatting with these guys. Welcome back, and once again, we were guilty of having fun conversation during the break. It's hard not to, right, while we're sitting here listening to the news, but I do want to reel it back to a couple of things. Joe, you started talking about how people need to think about how they're doing multi-factor authentication and how, you know, a lot of people back it up. I'm guilty too of maybe just using my cell phone. Or what do people need to do to maybe level that up? Because MFA it's pretty common now, but maybe not everybody's doing it in the right way. Like, should people think about an app, or can you kind of unpack that a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, as users, we all want the easiest way, right? With security.
Yes.
Like when it was just passwords, we all wanted our password to be password, and then passwords had to evolve to where they were stronger, and then MFA happened. And so, I mean, there's obviously multiple ways of doing multi-factor. And a lot of people just wanted it to be a text to their phone, but I mean, it's even get to the point where a text to your phone is not necessarily very safe MFA, because your phone number could get switched on you to another device. You know, I'm not an MFA expert, but I just know that doing MFA through an MFA app or using a key, like a physical hard device is the best way you can do it. So, you know, and even doing multiple forms of authentication, not just one, but having to have a couple different ways of validating. But, you know, it's just, no matter what we come up with, there's always a way that the hackers find a way around it or find a way to trick you. So it's a constantly evolving thing. But again, it's that battle between convenience and security. Yep. And as end users, we want convenience, right? We don't want to have to worry about security. So you've got to train your organization to understand, okay, there's going to be a little bit of inconvenience here, but there would be a whole heck of a lot of more inconvenience if we actually had an issue. So,
well, and the interesting thing is too, you brought this up, it's almost like it could be considered an AI arms race, right? The good guys versus the bad guys. Mm-hmm. What is that like? And maybe Kelly, this is more in your realm of things, because we're developing great tools for businesses and for creativity and things like that. But then behind the curtain, same thing is going on with the bad actors. And so I don't really know, is that something that your average Joe needs to worry about? Or is that kind of people like you who need to stay one step ahead?
Yeah, that's the trick, is staying one step ahead of the bad guys, right? And you know, in relation to MFA, having that Cisco Duo app or a Microsoft Authenticator. With Microsoft Authenticator, you can have multiple ways that works. Sometimes it'll send you a number and you have to type the number in. Sometimes you just write the code down. And there's biometric pieces to that too, because any password under 22 characters is pretty much worthless. Hackers with even just their home gaming computer could hack that relatively quickly. So having a password manager is also important to that mix of having a password, having MFA, but having a password manager that will allow you to create long, complicated passwords you don't have to type in. You just have to remember one password to get in your password manager. And with AI, I think there's already been cases where hacking gangs have used AI to rewrite the code that they're sending you to hack into your system to find ways around the tools we put in place to stop them. Mm-hmm. And that's the same philosophy that we're using with AI in business as a business strategic partner, is to have a secure place to put your information, but also use your day-to-day planning and strategy for your business to find things maybe you're overlooking. And that's similar to what the hacker's doing to get around our tools, but use it in your business to increase your profits and reduce costs that way.
Yep. I think I need to rethink my life when it comes to password keeping. I just took a note for myself. Redo every password that you have.
Yeah, no password to any system should be the same. So if you want to be a purist,
that's good.
You would go through every single app that you use and have a unique random password.
I might need to dedicate a weekend.
Which takes a lot of work, and don't put them in your notes in your iPhone and all that good stuff. One thing I think is an important point is, I think a lot of businesses think, I'm too small. Hackers don't care about me, like I'm not a big company. But it's not like it's people sitting in their basement manually trying to hack into you. They're building agents. They're building crawlers that are out there and that are sniffing for open ports and
Yep.
looking for vulnerabilities. And, they're building software that's doing this. So it doesn't matter how big or small you are. If you end up coming up on the radar through automation and these agents that are running, like you're as vulnerable as a big business is. So you can't get too comfortable just because
And
you're small.
to the hackers, you're just a number on the internet. They
Yeah.
don't care how big or
Right.
small your company is. If they see your number on the internet and it responds back to them that there's a vulnerability, they're going to jump on it.
Yep.
That's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Well, and I kind of want to twist this into I have a workforce question for you. And so I think about my day job at the chamber, right? There can be moments where I have so many deadlines coming up. I have to write this, the magazine's due, the website needs to be done, you name it, just like anybody's job, right? There can be busy times. And I have gotten better at utilizing tools like Claude or ChatGPT. What, from your perspective, and what I'm getting to is, the future of employees, right? That this work or these tools aren't going to replace employees necessarily, but first of all, what's the ethical dilemma? Like, should I feel bad if I use these tools? But also, how do employees need to level themselves up so they're not, outpaced by the next generation? So kind of a two-part question, the kind of the morality is like, is it okay that I'm using these tools? And how do employees or emerging students need to embrace this, I suppose, and not feel bad about it on the same way?
Yeah, the morality question, at the end of the day, so I look at it from a business owner's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You can't sit in every seat in the organization anyway. So, over the years, I've sat in a seat, figured out the job, outsourced it to another person, moved on. I think you should embrace all the tools. Unless it's an ethical issue.
Yep.
But as far as like finding ways to automate your business, like I think you take advantage of every opportunity you can, because then your people can be focusing on the things that people should really be doing. Like nobody wants to do the mindless busy work. So if you can automate a process or do something faster with the help of AI, and I use it a lot as just like almost like I've got a buddy sitting there next to me and he's helping me validate my ideas or like get my creative juices flowing. But then ultimately I'm the one that has to like massage or write the content.
Yep.
and perfect it. So I think, it's all in how you use it. And, I think there's going to be a lot more business processes that just honestly can be automated. Because if you can put a system around it and put that automation in place, it just makes sense to do that. But then you're still going to have those pieces where you let the human touch get in the middle of it.
Yes.
So I think what you do is businesses sit down and they look at their operations and they say, okay, let's take a look at a process we've had for a long time. Let's figure out where within this process or how we can change this process to make it faster, more efficient, create a better end product for the customer. But obviously we're still going to have human elements to it.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately it's a net win because we become more efficient and the client gets better service. So, I don't know how I would never have an ethical dilemma with ultimately creating a better system. So,
Yep. Well, I think it's important too. You briefly touched on this, but maybe if somebody's new to using some of these tools, that you gotta fact check this stuff, and you can't just take it right out of the box. Whether you're writing or I've just noticed that where they call it maybe hallucinations, right? Yeah. Where you need to ask the model like, where did you find this information? Because I'm pretty sure you just made that up. So it's a great assistant or like your buddy that you're chatting to, but it's not always 100% perfect. So I thank you for bringing that up. I think that's an important point. When we think about, and Kelly, I don't know, maybe if this is more in your realm, I'm thinking too about regulatory environments, I guess, where maybe we're ahead of the curve where some regulations haven't caught up, or what is that like? Does it feel like the Wild West still, or are we doing okay, or what needs to happen?
There's still lots of room for improvement in there. We've talked to a law firm recently that uses LexisNexis, and a lot of the tools that businesses are using, like LexisNexis, have their own AI built in. Everybody kind of has their own AI, but I was told that it's not accurate enough. And there was recently a news article about a law firm that was using AI to work on a case, and they used case. They cited ChatGPT cited case law, but gave incorrect facts to the case, and they used that in a lawsuit, and it didn't pan out so well for them.
Yeah, I can't imagine the judge was too happy about that when they learned about that.
Yeah, getting the facts wrong on something. So there's that hallucination, and a lot of the models right now are programmed to be overly optimistic.
Sure.
There was one session we were in recently that did a live chat GTP session on how to start a business. And I can't for the life of me remember what the business was, but it was not really a business. But chat GTP was overly optimistic, like, yeah, you have a great support system. And I think that'd be a great idea. So you really have to have, our stance is that keep the business leaders in charge of the business and use AI as a thought partner.
Yep.
And a strategic partner, but still have the critical thinking of the human. So that's to the point of, not people are still going to be needed to have that critical thinking piece.
Yeah. I mean, jobs will shift and change and evolve, right? But there's
Right.
still, we absolutely need that human element to it. Well, I'm curious too. I wasn't really planning on asking you this, but we'll see. Maybe if this isn't an appropriate question, just tell me. But I think about data centers. Was it this summer? I think Zuckerberg struck that deal with that Illinois nuclear plant. And so obviously energy is a huge discussion here. What does that horizon look like? We need more infrastructure, obviously, as these things get bigger. But what can you kind of unpack what we need to do as maybe even just a region or a country?
Just over the weekend, I heard something about the energy requirements for AI and electric vehicles and charging all those. And the U.S. and subsequently the world is way behind on the amount of energy that's needed to do that.
Yeah.
So they're looking at newer versions of nuclear energy to power these data centers and not pull all that energy from the grid that the people are using, right?
Yep.
So that's definitely a huge factor in all these big data centers around the state of North Dakota specifically. They're mining for cryptocurrency
Yep.
and the Facebooks of the world too.
Yep. Well, that's one reason why I'm very interested in the Midwest Tech Summit, because I know that data centers and energy will be a topic of discussion, and that's just very interesting to me. So I am looking forward to that aspect of things. All right, gentlemen, we're on our last break, so we're going to hop to that quick, and we'll be back for our last segment in just a moment. I think we're back on. Welcome back, if you can hear me. So we're just chatting about the energy consumption and the future of that, which I think is so interesting. And I'm just, even just as a bystander, as a viewer, I'm going to be just interested to watch how all of this unfolds. And it is exciting, as I'll classify myself as a nerd, I suppose, and it's just fun to see things evolve and change. And speaking of nerdiness, I don't know if either of you are into this, but I was listening to a Lex Friedman podcast, must have been last weekend, and he's an MIT guy, very, very, again, I'll use the word nerdy, but he has on AI professionals all the time. And one thing that I've been hearing a lot is, are we at the point for artificial general intelligence yet? And what is it? What does that mean? I don't know if that's in your realm of expertise, but could you explain what that is? AGI versus what we have now? That's something that always struck me as interesting. I'm not quite sure.
I haven't geeked out over that yet.
Really?
So I'm not the best one to probably describe.
Yeah,
that.
I'm kind of the same boat. There's so much to all this AI explosion recently to, and to just, I think the important part is just kind of find a spot to start.
Yeah.
And the AIG isn't really there yet.
Right. And that seems to be the consensus, right? It's almost like, have you guys seen the movie Ex Machina?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you should watch it. It is fun. And that's probably more in that realm down the road, where I don't want to spoil it, because in my mind, it's a 9.5 out of 10 movie. I absolutely love it. It's a little creepy.
When you have, when you have Elon Musk with his new humanoid robot that's ready for sale here any day now.
Exactly.
One thing I think is important from a business perspective, and Dharmesh Shah, who is one of the founders of HubSpot, is big on this. And I think that's how a business should look at AI. It's changing so fast, and you can freak yourself out, and you can be, you can bring your anxiety through the roof thinking that you have to keep up with all these AI tools. But his motto is dream big, but iterate small. So spend the time understanding what's out there and have big dreams, but you don't have to consume 18 hours a day trying to implement AI in your business. Just pick one or two things every quarter that you're going to do to improve a process and use AI, and just slowly chip away at it while having your eye set on the bigger vision of where you're trying to go. And I think that'll help you as a business be more strategic and not just reactionary to everything that comes out, because there are probably hundreds of articles and things coming out you could just consume all your time with, and you have to at some point put it away and get the work done, right, to keep the business going. So
it's a lot like learning a musical instrument, right? You learn about the strings on a guitar, and the next step you're playing Smoke on the Water.
Yep, 100%.
And then you build on that as you go.
Yeah, you don't go right to Stevie Ray Vaughan, right?
No.
There are steps to this. Well, Joe, you mentioned, taking this one step at a time, and a lot of people just like me, just professionals in the community, might not be involved in this yet or not know where to start. Do you have any tools that you found useful, or just kind of recommendations people could literally write down, like, oh, maybe I'll check this out this weekend?
There are a million tools out there. It's hard to know where to start. I think what a person should do is there's some newsletters you can sign up for to kind of stay in the know on what's changing with AI.
Yeah.
So you got something that comes in your inbox once a week, and you can kind of breeze through and see what looks applicable to you. That's what I would do. But it's changing so fast that it can be really intimidating to keep up. But just be patient with yourself. I think you need someone who's a champion within your organization or a group of people.
Yep.
One thing we do at OnSharp is we kind of do these AI lunch and learn. So if somebody has something that they've built or done or that wants to share with the team, we all get together for lunch. They can do a demo. They can kind of show people what they've learned and how they're using it. But if you don't have someone in your organization, then partner up with somebody. Find an organization that can kind of advise you and help you understand like how to navigate the landscape, because every business has to kind of look in a way reinvent themselves and say, okay, if I was starting my business all over, what might I do differently about how we operate, and start to create a roadmap for, how do we think we want to evolve over the next 1 to 5 years with AI, infiltrating everything that we do.
Yeah, that's a good approach too, because it can be overwhelming. You almost feel behind sometimes, but you just need to breathe for a second and figure out what's right for you. One thing I do like to do for our guests, or not our guests, but our viewers rather, when they're listening to this or watching it on YouTube later, is if it makes sense, I try to link sources, right? And Kelly, I saw you guys have a blog. I might even just link that on this episode. Joe, is there anything for you where people can maybe browse around, learn more, even if it's about you guys too? I think this is such an interesting, dynamic conversation. Folks might be interested to click around.
Yeah, we have a blog as well. We also do a lot of short videos where we talk about different topics just across everything that we do, development, AI, and all that. And I'm trying to be more active on LinkedIn, just kind of sharing the things that I'm doing and what I'm learning and advice that I would have for a business. So you could follow me on LinkedIn also. So
great to know.
But YouTube is full of amazing, videos. You could just immerse yourself forever, watching videos and learning about the stuff. It's overwhelming. So you just got to kind of pace yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Time flies. So we're almost down to our last minute here. And so we're thinking about the Midwest Tech Summit, August 14th. Do you guys want to tell people, give them one sentence why they should come? I mean, today was just a taste of what the conversation is going to be like, and I cannot wait. But what would be your plug? I mean, I have my own, but why should people come, learn more about this, get interested?
I think each one of us, all three of us, have different topics to discuss, and the one that we're discussing with Digital Plains is how to implement AI with your workforce, and like we were talking about earlier, not necessarily getting rid of people, but up-leveling people in your organization to do better strategic things instead of just the menial tasks and processes.
Yes.
And to use that, so it might not mean you're letting people go, but it might mean you don't have to hire as many people, which is a struggle for everyone in every industry.
Yeah, that's a great perspective, and that's a tangible takeaway for business owners too, to think about and lock away in their minds. So thank you for sharing. Joe, anything from you?
Yeah, I think this year with the focus on AI at the summit, it's a perfect year to be there. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be knowledgeable about AI and how they're using it. So if you want some free advice and you want to be able to talk to a whole bunch of people within a 2-3 hour time frame, the summit this year is a perfect opportunity for that.
Well, thank you guys both for being here today and for being on the panel at the summit. We really appreciate your insight and expertise and leadership on that. So thank you for spending time with us and sharing your knowledge. And as Joe mentioned, well, there is a live stream, which is no cost for that summit, but you can join us in person too at the Holiday in Fargo. So it's up to you. However you want to tune in, we got options. So we hope to see you there. Next week on the show, we'll be here with Mayor Olson of Dilworth, and we're going to talk about developments going on over there. So stick with us. It's going to be a continued learning summer. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you guys both very much.
Thank you.